Now that's not always the case. So if your goal was slightly more ambitious, if your input was natural photographs, and your goal was to recognize a particular object, does an image contain a zebra, for example, that's a harder task. So why is it hard? It's hard because the object that you're looking for, whether it's a zebra or a tank or anything, it can actually be in any orientation in the image, right? If I take a zebra and I flip it from left to right, just do a mirror image, it's still a zebra. Right? Even if I turn it upside down or rotate it in some strange way, it would still be a zebra. It'd be strange, but it'd be a zebra. Now that doesn't work with digits. If you flip the digit, it's no longer the same digit, and your system wouldn't be expected to recognize it correctly. But a zebra, you would expect the system to recognize it whatever angle it was photographed from. So now that's an artificial transformation. There's all kinds of other things that go on with images, right? Your zebras could be occluded. There could be something interfering. They could be photographed from all sorts of angles. There could be different lighting conditions. Some of them could be photographed at night. Some of them photographed during the day. So all of the intensities, all of the colors could be wildly different. So in this domain, using pixels would not work. Why doesn't it work? It's because a single pixel no longer carries any meaning. It no longer carries any identifying information about whether or not there is a zebra in the image, right? So, for example, I could take that pixel and I could say, well, it's not, it's green, therefore it can or it cannot indicate a zebra. That's wrong, right? It could be white and indicate a zebra, or it could be white and not indicate a zebra. So there isn't a natural correspondence that we had in the digits. So for a task like this, you would not be able to use pixels as attributes. So you have to come up with something else, and there's many different ways to do that. But I'll talk about one. So one possible way to represent the data in order to start doing machine learning. And mind you, I'm not talking about actually recognizing whether there is a zebra or not. We're just talking about how do we represent the data. How do we go from the bitmap, from the pixels, to the vector form, to the attribute value form that we could then feed into our learning algorithms. So how could you do it? Well, one possible way in which people do it is they take an image, they find a segmentation algorithm. So segmentation algorithms, it's basically something that goes in the image and tries to identify sort of homogeneous regions. Regions where everything inside a region has similar local properties. And what that means is it means that all of the pixels inside a region, they have a similar color distribution, they have similar texture responses. So in this case, that region, it has predominantly black and white colors, no red, no blue, and it also has a lot of edges, horizontal and vertical edges, and these edges are quite thick. Right. So that is something that a vision algorithm can determine fairly mechanistically. And the regions outside of it, they have a very different color distribution. Like they're sort of greenish, yellowish, brownish colors mostly, and they don't have this pronounced edge pattern. The edges are in all sorts of directions. So a segmentation algorithm would actually be able to cut the image into these little blobs, and then what we can do is we can take each blob and compute some summary statistics over the blob. So the critical thing is, even once we've identified the blob, we can't really use individual pixels, right? Because the stripes on a zebra could be in any sort of orientation. So you can't assume that a zebra is going to have a stripe in the upper left corner of whatever region is a zebra. Right? So we cannot use individual pixels, but what we can use is we can use summary statistics over the region. We could say, well, where is this region positioned? Is it in the center of an image? Is it kind of in the corner? How big is it relative to the overall image? What is the circumference? Area and circumference together tell you how circular the object is. So a sun would have a very small circumference to the area ratio, and a very sort of non-circular object would have a high ratio, so that's a useful thing to have. You could also look at things like the color frequencies themselves. So this region would be mostly white and black with a sprinkling of other colors, and other regions would be mostly greenish or yellowish or brownish. So and then of course you can use the same texture filters that we used to segment the image. So is it smooth? Is the region smooth? Is the region stripy? Is it sort of dotted? If it has stripes, are they thick stripes or are they tiny little stripes? Are all the stripes roughly in the same orientation? Are they all roughly vertical or maybe roughly horizontal? Or do they occur at all sorts of angles? All of those are statistics that you could compute over an image region, and those would become your representation. Those would become your attributes, your feature vector that you would then feed into a learning algorithm. Right? So it's a fairly complicated process, but it is a difficult task. And there's lots and lots of other ways of doing it. I'm just outlining one possibility. Now, I guess one big caveat here is segmentation algorithms. They're in general not extremely accurate, especially on still images. They're a lot better on video. So it will make lots of mistakes, right? See here, it took our zebra and lopped off the front legs. And that's fine. What you hope for is you hope for that those mistakes will be systematic. So similar pictures of zebra will be sort of chopped in similar ways. And if that happens, your learning algorithm will be able to cope with it. So that's not really an issue. And by the way, there's lots of applications where you don't even need a segmentation algorithm. So you could put a regular grid, a square grid over the image, and then just take individual regions to be sort of the cells in the grid to be regions, and use the same representation for all of them. And surprisingly, you can detect a lot of stuff that way.